Welcome back to the channel. We're back with our commander deck profile from Edge of Eternities. Haliya, Guided by Light. For 2 and a white, you get a 3/3 that has whenever Haliya or another creature enters, or artifact as well, you gain a life, and at the beginning of your end step, draw a card if you gain 3 or more life this turn. So, it's a life gain deck where we get to draw cards. It's similar to the Gaffer in that way where we get to draw a card by gaining that 3 life at the end phase, except this is only during your end phase, not during each player's end phase. And also, there's a whole bunch of cards that do that whenever a creature enters, you gain a life. So we have a whole bunch of those in here in order to make sure that they stack on top of each other, eventually getting us that 3 life, and some benefits that benefit off of that while we're at it. Also, it's the new Warp ability of you may cast this card from your hand. For its warp cost, exile this creature at the beginning of the next end step. Then you may cast it from exile during a later turn. But if it's in a command zone, that's not going to really play an ability in this, but just something to mention there. But that's the general overview of the deck. Let's get into it card by card. Starting off, we have Aetherflux Reservoir. Gain life anytime we cast a spell. Eventually, when we get to a high enough life total, we can pay that 50 life in order to deal 50 damage to one of our opponents, normally taking at least one person out of the game with this card. And also just that life gain helps you easily get to that 3 life gain every turn, because you cast 2 spells, you gain 1 off the first one, 2 off the second one. There you go, you're already at 3. Alhammar's Archive. If you gain life, you gain twice that much life instead, where you're gaining a whole bunch of life in the deck. Super good there. And if you draw a card, except the first one each turn, you draw 2 cards instead. And we're drawing a card during our end phase, but now we're drawing 2. Super useful in this deck. Arcane Signet for that additional mana, Pearl Medallion for some cost reduction, Pristine Talisman, a little bit of extra mana with a little bit of extra life gain. Sometimes you just need that one last little push to get to the 3. Soul Ring for some extra mana, Book of Exalted Deeds at the beginning of your end step if you gain 3 more life, which we're trying to do every turn anyway. Create 3/3 White Angel creature token with flying, so we have a bunch of things that benefit off of gaining a certain amount of life at the end of each turn. So this is another one of those, and some tokens are always good for some protection there. You can also pay 3 mana, exile Book of Exalted Deeds, put an Enlightened counter on target angel. It gains you lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. Sorry, you can't lose the game. You don't want to lose the game. Wind Crystal in order to double up your life gain. A little bit of cost reduction there. Also, creatures you control gain flying and lifelink till end of turn. Certain times, you'll just need that final last swing on your opponents, or that little bit of extra life gain to get you that 3 life. Depends what you need. Sometimes you just have 6 mana, you don't have anything else to do it. But the double life gain is the main thing that we have this here for. Wayfarer's Bauble for some extra lands. Well of Lost Dreams. Whenever you gain life, pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gain if you do draw X cards. So we gain 1 life, pay 1 mana, draw a card. Since we have so many things that gain 1 mana, 1 life at a time, we can do this multiple times throughout the turn since this isn't limited to once per turn. We have Arid Gainsborough. Lifelink whenever you gain life, which we're trying to do a whole bunch, put a +1/+1 counter on Arid, and when she dies, put an X +1/+1 counters on each legendary creature you control, where X is the number of counters on Arid, so it'll help us bump up Haliya just a little bit if she enters while he's on the battlefield and then dies while he's still on the battlefield as well. Angel Vitality, if you gain life, gain that much life +1 instead, so gain 2 off of Haliya's ability. And then we just need a second creature to enter rather than needing 3 creatures to enter. And then Angel Vitality gets +2/+2 as long as you have 25 or more life, which in Commander isn't that uncommon, especially in a life gain deck. Or our Champion, Protection from Black and Red. Whenever another creature enters, gain a life. We're going to be seeing that that ability a lot. This one is whenever another creature enters the battlefield, not just yours. Celestial Forest, beginning of each upkeep, gain 3 life. There we go. We're already at the 3 life to gain to draw that card at the end of the turn. It's 8 mana though, so it's a little pricey, but yeah, it just fit really well with what we're trying to do here. Crested Sunmare, other horses you control have indestructible, creates a horse anytime you gain a life at the beginning of each end step. So once again, creating tokens at the beginning of end steps, something we like to see a whole bunch here. Daxos, Blessed by the Sun. Too bad this wasn't like blue in here, because then we could put Y'shtola, which would have been really helpful. But whenever a creature enters or dies to gain a life, like to see it. Espercental for some draw power. Also potentially a little bit of buff there for him we have in this deck. Exemplar of Light. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature and draw a card. I mean, you only get to draw a card once, but still super useful. You get that little bit of extra draw power there. And also flying for a whole bunch of damage while we're at it. It also draws 4 cards every round if we have something like Soul Warden. No, yeah, Soul Warden. Peladar Sovereign. At the beginning of your upkeep, you have 40 more life, you win the game. We're going to be gaining plenty of life, so we may be at a certain point in the game where our opponents don't have anything else to deal with us. So we have this plus Test of Endurance, which is actually right next to it, where we have ways to just say we win the game by having life and not just, sit around with a million life and have nothing to do with it. Guide of Souls, another thing that gets you life anytime a creature enters, and then whenever you attack, play 3 energy counters. When you do, put 2 +1/+1 counters and a flying counter on target attacking creature. Comes an ancient addition to its other types. It helps you swing in for a little bit more damage. Helps some of your life linkers swing in as well. So super fun ability there. While here, Greatest of the Eagles. Whenever he attacks, target attacking creature gains flying till end of turn. Another way to help us deal with damage. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 or more life, which we're trying to do anyway, create a 3/3 white bird creature token, where whenever this creature attacks, target attacking creature gains flying this turn as well. So eventually, we're going to have everything we have flying over our opponents, gaining us that life because of their life links. Well, we don't actually have that many life linkers, but you know what I mean. Haliya Sun Crown. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. And another target creature you control gains lifelink. So this plus Grace of Eagles, you get lifelink on everything. But those +1/+1 counters do help us actually be able to swing in for some damage. Knight of Dawn's Light. If you gain life, gain that much life +1 instead. Once again, we want to see that so that we could have 2 creatures enter for I keep forgetting the commander's name. Haliya's ability rather than just having to wait for Drake. Knight of White Orchid for a little bit of extra lands there. Super fun. We're in mono white, so we need what we could. We'll take what we can get sometimes. Nykthos Paragon. Whenever you gain life, put that many +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Only happens once each turn, so sometimes you may want to save this until you have your big play, where you gain more than 1 life, so you're not just putting 1 +1/+1 counter on everything. But still, overall, just a great card. Resplendent Angel. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 5 or more life, create a 4/4 Angel. And until end of turn, Resplendent Angel gets +2/+2 in lifelink if you pay 5 mana for it. It's going to be that first ability that we're looking for in this one. Flying. No, it's going to be a second ability, really. But yeah, Angel creature tokens with Flying and Vigilance. Another big creature we had to swing on our opponent with. Rock's Faith Mender. Whenever you gain life, gain twice that much life instead. Pairs really well with Nykthos Paragon there. But in regards to that, we do like to see that so that we can make sure, once again, we have 2 creatures enter for our commander's ability rather than having to wait for Drury. Sarah Ascendant, as long as you have 30 more life, which we start off with, and this is only 1 mana card, so could, start swinging the turn gets in. Gets +5/+5 in flying, so, turn 1, 6/6 with flying and lifelink helps us get our life total up pretty high. Shattered Angel, whenever our land enters battlefield under an opponent's control, you may gain 3 life. If our opponent, we could say, like, hey, maybe you could use your Evolving Wilds during our turn. We could potentially get that 3 life right there. Other than that, just some pretty good life gain. Soul Warden, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain a life. Same with Soul's Attendant and Suture Priest. Except these ones are specifically any creature enters, and this one is just your creatures. And also, whenever your opponent's creatures enters, they lose a life, so we get to deal a little bit of damage on that. To Gaffer, at the beginning of each end step, not just your own. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, draw a card. A little bit of extra draw power is super helpful getting our plays forward. Valkyrie Harbinger, at the beginning of each end step, if you gain 4 more life this turn, create a 4/4 Angel with Flying and Vigilance. Once again, we want to be trying to gain more and more life every turn to create more and more tokens. Voice of the Blessed, as long as you control as long as the creature has 4 more +1/+1 counters on it, it's Flying and Vigilance. As long as it has 10 or more, also has Indestructible. So, potentially 12/12 Flying Indestructible with Vigilance. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. For our enchantments, we have Angelic Accord. Being an end step, if you gain 4 more life, 4/4 Angel. We've been seeing that quite a bit in this deck, so may as well keep it going. Enduring Consoles. Whenever a creature an opponent controls enters, you gain a life. It also makes them enter tap, so it lets us swing in for some damage. That little bit of extra life gain helps more than just our commander here. Player class, whenever you gain life, gain that much life +1. So that once again, 2 creatures instead of 3. Some additional +1/+1 counters when you gain life, and then you could return something from the graveyard to the battlefield. I mean, not gonna really be much impressive in terms of that with this deck, but maybe you get, what was it, Feldar Sovereign into your back onto the battlefield for that. Wait, no, there's no mana value, right? Nope, return target creature. Yep. Griffinary, if you enjoy more life, 2/2 white Griffin token on this one. Flying, no vigilance, not a 4/4 angel, but still a good ability. Leyline of Hope, gain life, gain that much life +1, and a little bit of stat boost to your creatures if you have 7 or more life than your starting life total. Peace of Mind, discard a card, gain 3 life for just 1 mana. I mean, we're basically going to discard a card, draw a card with that ability, and gain 3 life. I mean, I'd say it's worth 1 mana. And Testament Torrents, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 50 more life, you win the game. We just have to survive a turn cycle without dying. Yeah, it's going to happen, right? It rarely happens, but when it does, it's fun. Divine Offering, destroy target for a little bit of removal, gain life off of that removal while you're at it. Generous gift for some removal. Healing Grace, prevent next 3 damage that will be dealt to any target this turn by a source of your choice. You gain 3 life, so you could swing in, prevent that damage, and gain the life while you're at it. Haliya's Intervention, target player gains twice X life. You just pay 4 mana into this, gain the 4 life, draw a card while you're at it. Or a little bit of removal if you really need it. Invoke the Divine, removal with that life gain in order to let us draw that card. Light of Hope, gain 4 life, like to see it, or some removal or some counters depending on what we need. Path to Exile for removal, and gets you a land if you need a land too, I guess. Restoration Magic for that protection. That's a little bit of life gain if you pay just 2 mana, you gain that 3 life with the indestructibleness on the creatures. Wait, oh, sorry. I just realized I forgot to scroll over to the second half of the deck. Sorry. Yeah, we have all these. Sorry. Yeah, we gotta keep that in now. Revitalize, gain 3 life, draw a card. It's weird. Gain 3 life, draw 2 cards by our end. So, Reviving Dose, gain 3 life, draw a card, but draw 2 cards. It's the same exact card, almost, except 1 mana more. Riot Control, you gain 1 life for each creature your opponents control, prevent all damage to be dealt to you this turn. A little bit of a fog there for you, but sometimes you can just play it during your own turn. This way, you could just gain a whole bunch of life. Ritual Rejuvenation, gain 4 life, draw a card. This one is literally the same exact mana cost as this, but 1 more life. But once again, we don't really care about that 1 more life. We just want to make sure that we get to that 3 in order to draw the card at our end phase. So it still didn't scroll over far enough. Sorry. And then Source of Plowshares, we can remove our own thing to gain some life, or we can remove one of our opponent's things. Unit of Third Path, draw a card, and gain life equal to the number of cards in your hand, which will be quite a number. For lands, we have Adventurous Inn for some life gain. Could be our Crossroads for some life gain. A whole bunch of planes because they're in mono white. Radiant Fountain gains us some life. Reliquary Tower, nice to have no maximum hand size there. Seraph Sanctuary gains you a little bit of life. And War Room is a little bit of draw power while we're at it. And then for our Planeswalker, we have Johnny's Strength of the Pride. Gain life equals the number of creatures you control for its +1, or its 0 is really what we tend to use. If you have 15 more life, then you're starting life total, which in a life gain deck, we're going to tend to. Exile this card, and each artifact and creature your opponents control. So, I mean, people have Indestructible, but we basically have 2 Farewells in this deck, because we also have Farewell in this deck. Austere Command's a board wipe, Farewell's a board wipe, Fumigate's a board wipe that also gains us life while we're at it. Lucky Offering, a little bit of removal while gaining a set 3 life to draw us a card. Sanctify, removal along with drawing us a card. And then Stormherd, create X11 Pegasi, where X is your life total, which could be a game ender at a certain point. I mean, at 10 mana it has to be. But that's the deck there. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked it, make sure you liked the video. If you want to see more like this, I'm going to be trying to cover all the Edge of Eternities commanders. Make sure you subscribe for that. Comment how you'd like to build a deck. And overall, just have a great rest of the day.